Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my brothers and sisters. Before we begin, I want you to think about one person, the person you still miss, the person whose name can still change your mood, the person you told yourself you were over, yet somehow they still live in your heart. Maybe they left months ago, maybe they left years ago, maybe they never even knew how deeply you cared. Yet despite all the time that has passed, a part of you is still carrying them, still remembering, still wondering, still hoping. And perhaps that is why you clicked on this video, because deep down you are tired. Tired of thinking about someone who no longer thinks about you. Tired of carrying memories that only bring pain. Tired of asking Allah the same question over and over again. Why did this have to happen? But what if the question you have been asking is the wrong one? What if the real question is this? What if the person you are desperately trying to hold on to is someone Allah already decided to remove? What if the door you keep crying in front of is the very door Allah closed to save your future? What if the heartbreak that feels like a punishment is actually one of the greatest acts of mercy Allah has ever given you? My brothers and sisters, some losses do not break us because they are too heavy. They break us because we keep carrying them long after Allah asked us to put them down. And that is the painful truth many people never realize. The person left, but the attachment stayed. The chapter ended, but the heart refused to move on. The door closed, but we kept standing outside it, hoping it would open again. Meanwhile, Allah was preparing new blessings, new opportunities, new peace, a new version of ourselves. But we were too busy looking behind us to see what Allah was placing ahead of us. So tonight, if you are struggling to let go of someone, if you are still carrying a person Allah removed from your life, if your heart feels trapped between what was and what could have been, then stay with me until the end, because this reminder may help you understand something that changes everything. Perhaps the greatest blessing Allah has planned for you cannot arrive until you finally release what He already took away. And perhaps the peace you have been searching for is waiting on the other side of letting go. When Allah removes someone from your life, He is protecting a future you cannot yet see. One of the most painful things a person can experience is watching someone they deeply care about walk away while their heart is still holding on. The person leaves, but the feelings remain. Days pass, weeks pass, sometimes even years pass. And yet a part of your heart continues asking the same questions. Why did this happen? Why did Allah allow them to leave? Why did something that felt so important come to an end? You replay old conversations in your mind. You remember the good moments. You think about what could have been. Sometimes you even imagine different endings and wonder if one small change could have saved everything. The heart searches desperately for answers because it believes that understanding the loss will somehow make the pain disappear. But my brothers and sisters, sometimes the answer is much simpler than we think. Allah removed them because He could see what you could not. The reality is that we often become attached to people through our hopes and dreams. We do not only love the person, we love the future we imagine with them. We love the picture we create in our minds. We imagine years of happiness. We imagine a life together. We imagine peace, comfort, and companionship. But while we are looking at our dreams, Allah is looking at reality. Allah sees every road before you walk on it. Allah sees every conversation before it happens. Allah sees every disappointment before it reaches your heart. Allah sees every hidden danger that you know nothing about. What looks perfect to you may contain difficulties you cannot see. What feels right to your emotions may not be right for your future. There are things Allah protects us from that we will never fully understand in this life. Many people spend months crying over a closed door, only to look back years later and thank Allah that it never opened. At the time, they thought they had lost everything. Later, they realized they had actually been saved from everything. How many people entered marriages they once begged Allah for, only to discover years of pain waiting behind those doors? How many people chased relationships they thought would complete them, only to find anxiety, heartbreak, and regret? How many times have we asked Allah for something with complete certainty, only to later discover that His refusal was one of the greatest blessings of our lives? This is why trusting Allah requires more than patience. It requires humility. It requires accepting that Allah knows what we do not know and sees what we do not see. The believer understands that Allah does not remove people randomly. Allah does not close doors without wisdom. Allah does not take something away without a purpose. Sometimes, Allah removes a person because they would have distracted you from Him. Sometimes He removes them because they would have damaged your peace. Sometimes He removes them because they were only meant to be a lesson, not a lifetime companion. And sometimes Allah removes them because He has written something better that cannot arrive until you release what is currently occupying your heart. The difficult part is that we usually judge Allah's plan through today's pain. We focus on what hurts right now. We focus on what we lost. We focus on the emptiness we feel, but Allah is working with a future that we cannot see. While you are grieving one chapter, Allah may already be preparing the next one. While you are crying over one closed door, Allah may already be opening another. While you are asking why someone left, Allah may already be arranging blessings that will make sense of everything later. This is why some of the greatest blessings in life arrive disguised as painful endings. The job you did not get, the opportunity that disappeared, the friendship that ended, the relationship that fell apart. At first they feel like losses, but with time they often reveal themselves as acts of mercy. One day, when enough time has passed and enough wisdom has entered your heart, you may look back at the person you once cried over and realize something that changes everything. You may realize that Allah was never being cruel to you. He was being merciful. He was protecting your future. He was protecting your heart. He was protecting your faith. He was protecting a version of you that you had not yet become. And perhaps the greatest truth of all is this: the person you are struggling to let go of today may actually be the very thing Allah removed because He loves you too much to let them stand in the way of what He has planned for you tomorrow. Your heart begins to suffer when it depends on someone more than it relies on Allah. One of the greatest reasons people struggle to let go of someone is not because that person was perfect. It is because their heart slowly began depending on that person for things only Allah can truly provide. At first, it feels harmless. You enjoy talking to them. You feel happy when they are around. You look forward to their messages. You think about them often. But little by little, something deeper begins to happen. Their presence starts affecting your emotions more than you realize. Your mood depends on how they treat you. Your peace depends on how much attention they give you. Your happiness depends on whether they stay or leave. Without noticing it, your heart begins building its home around a person instead of around Allah. And this is where the suffering begins. Because every human being is temporary. Every human being changes. Every human being has flaws. Every human being can leave. No matter how much someone loves you, they cannot carry the weight that only Allah was meant to carry. This is why so many people feel completely broken when a relationship ends. It is not only because they lost a person, it is because they lost the source they had unknowingly attached their emotional security to. The heart feels like it is collapsing because it was leaning on something that was never strong enough to hold it forever. My brothers and sisters, think about how many people spend their days constantly checking their phone, hoping for a message from someone. One message can make their entire day feel better. One delayed reply can ruin their entire mood. One cold response can fill their heart with anxiety. This is not peace. This is emotional dependence. And emotional dependence always creates fear. Fear of being ignored, fear of being replaced, fear of not being enough, fear of losing what you have. Fear becomes a constant companion because your heart has attached itself to something that can disappear at any moment. But Allah never wanted your heart to live like that. Allah created your heart to find its deepest security in Him. When your heart relies on Allah first, people can still bring happiness into your life, but they no longer control your peace. You appreciate them without worshiping their attention. You love them without becoming dependent on them. You care about them without losing yourself in them. You value them without making them the center of your world. That is the balance Islam teaches. The problem is that many people are searching for in a human being what can only be found through Allah. They want someone to remove every fear, someone to heal every wound, someone to fill every emptiness, someone to guarantee they will never feel lonely again. But no person can do that. Even the best spouse cannot do that. Even the most loving friend cannot do that. Even the closest family member cannot do that, because the emptiness inside the soul was designed to be filled by closeness to Allah. And when we try to fill that space with people, we place expectations on them that they were never created to carry. Eventually, those expectations break, and when they break, the heart suffers. Sometimes Allah removes someone from your life, not because He wants to punish you, but because He wants to rescue your heart from unhealthy dependence. Sometimes Allah sees that your attachment is becoming too deep. He sees that your thoughts are revolving around that person more than they revolve around Him. He sees that your happiness is becoming tied to a creation instead of the Creator. And because Allah loves you, He interrupts the attachment before it becomes even more damaging. At first, this feels painful, very painful. You may cry, you may feel lost. You may wonder why Allah took away someone who meant so much to you. But often what feels like loss is actually a return to Allah, a return to emotional freedom, a return to the peace you lost while chasing security in someone else. Many people discover their strongest connection with Allah only after losing someone they thought they could not live without. The late-night du'as become deeper. The prayers becomes more sincere. The reliance on Allah becomes stronger. The heart begins learning lessons it could never have learned while it was distracted by attachment. And eventually, something beautiful happens. The same heart that once believed it would never recover begins finding peace again. Not because the person returned, not because everything went according to plan, but because the heart finally returned to the one it was searching for all along. The truth is that every heart depends on something. The question is whether it depends on something temporary or on the one who is eternal. People come and go. Feelings rise and fall. Relationships begin and end. But Allah remains. Allah stays. Allah never abandons. Allah never forgets. Allah never leaves. And the moment your heart truly understands that, you stop chasing people to give you what only Allah can provide. That is when healing begins. That is when strength returns. And that is when the heart finally learns what real peace feels like. The person is gone, but the attachment remains. And that is what keeps the wound open. One of the deepest truths many people never realize is that sometimes the person is no longer the problem. The person left months ago. The conversations ended long ago. The relationship is over. The chapter has closed. Yet somehow the pain remains. Why? Because while the person may have left your life, the attachment never left your heart. And that attachment continues to keep the wound open. Many people spend years believing they are suffering because they lost someone. But in reality, they are suffering because they have not released their emotional attachment to what was lost. The person is gone, but they still live inside their thoughts. They still replay old memories before sleeping. They still imagine conversations that will never happen. They still wonder what the other person is doing. They still secretly hope for a message, a phone call, an apology, or a return. And every time those thoughts are repeated, the attachment becomes stronger. The wound never gets a chance to heal because it is being reopened every single day. Imagine someone trying to recover from an injury while constantly picking at the wound. No matter how much time passes, healing will never happen. This is exactly what attachment does to the heart. Every memory becomes another reopening of the wound. Every fantasy becomes another delay in healing. Every what if becomes another chain keeping you tied to the past. My brothers and sisters, one of Shaitan's favorite tricks is keeping a believer emotionally trapped inside a chapter that Allah has already ended. He wants you to keep looking backward. He wants you to keep replaying old scenes. He wants you to keep reliving moments that are gone. Because as long as your heart remains trapped in yesterday, it cannot fully embrace what Allah is doing today. The painful truth is that many people are not attached to the person anymore. They are attached to the idea of the person. They are attached to the future they imagined. They are attached to the dreams they built. They are attached to the version of life they thought they were going to have. And when that future disappears, it feels as if a part of them disappears with it. You are no longer only grieving a person. You are grieving the life you thought they would bring. You are grieving the happiness you expected. You are grieving the story you created in your mind. And because that imagined future never became reality, your heart keeps trying to bring it back. But my brothers and sisters, no amount of thinking can bring back a chapter Allah has closed. No amount of wishing can rewrite a decree Allah has already written. No amount of attachment can change what Allah decided was not meant to remain. Sometimes we hold on because we think letting go means the person did not matter. But that is not true. Someone can matter deeply and still not belong in your future. Someone can teach you valuable lessons and still not be meant to stay forever. Not every person enters your life to remain. Some enter your life to teach. Some enter your life to wake you up. Some enter your life to strengthen you. Some enter your life to bring you closer to Allah. And once their purpose is complete, Allah moves them out of your story. The problem begins when we refuse to accept that their role has ended. Instead of thanking Allah for the lesson, we keep demanding the person. Instead of appreciating the wisdom, we keep chasing the memory. Instead of moving forward, we keep standing at a door that Allah has already closed. And the longer we stand there, the more exhausted the heart becomes. Because attachment is heavy, it steals your peace. It steals your focus. It steals your joy. It steals your ability to appreciate the blessings still present in your life. How many beautiful moments have people missed because they were busy thinking about someone who was no longer there? How many opportunities have been ignored because the heart was trapped in the past? How many blessings arrived unnoticed because the mind was still attached to an old chapter? This is why healing begins when acceptance begins. Not acceptance that the pain never existed, not acceptance that the person never mattered, but acceptance that Allah's plan is greater than your attachment. Acceptance that if Allah removed them, He had a reason. Acceptance that if they were truly meant to stay, no force on earth could have taken them away. And acceptance that if they left despite all your efforts, then Allah was teaching your heart to seek its peace somewhere higher. The moment you stop feeding the attachment, something beautiful begins to happen. The thoughts become quieter. The memories lose their power. The constant longing begins to fade. The heart slowly starts breathing again. And little by little, the wound that stayed open for so long finally begins to close. Not because you forgot them, not because they suddenly became unimportant, but because you finally trusted Allah enough to release what He already removed. And sometimes the greatest act of healing is not finding a way to get them back. Sometimes the greatest act of healing is finally placing them in Allah's hands and allowing your heart to move forward. Every moment you spend chasing what left is a moment you miss what Allah is sending. One of the saddest things that can happen to a person is not losing someone. It is losing years of their life because they could not stop looking back. There are people who spend months trapped in the past. There are people who spend years waiting for a chapter to reopen that Allah has already closed. Their body moves forward, but their heart remains behind. Their life continues, but their mind stays attached to yesterday. Their future arrives, but they are too busy staring at what left to notice what Allah is bringing. And this is one of the greatest dangers of unhealthy attachment. It does not only make you miss the person, it makes you miss the blessings that come after the person. Many people believe they are honoring their feelings by holding on. In reality, they are preventing themselves from receiving what Allah has prepared next. Imagine standing in front of a closed door every single day. You knock, you wait, you cry, you beg for it to open, you refuse to leave. Meanwhile, behind you, Allah has opened another door filled with peace, growth, healing, and blessings. But because your eyes are fixed on the door that closed, you never turn around to see the one that opened. This is exactly what happens to many hearts. They become so focused on what Allah took away that they become blind to what Allah is sending. My brothers and sisters, Allah did not create your life to revolve around one person. No matter how important they seemed, no matter how deeply you loved them, no matter how much you thought they were your future, your entire destiny was never placed inside one human being. Allah's mercy is far greater than that. Allah's plan is far bigger than that. Yet attachment convinces us otherwise. It whispers, they were your only chance. It whispers, you will never find happiness again. It whispers, nobody will ever understand you like they did. It whispers, your best days are behind you. But these are lies that keep the heart imprisoned, because Allah is capable of bringing into your life things you cannot even imagine today. The person you are crying over may not even compare to the blessings Allah has prepared for your future. The peace you are searching for may be waiting in a place you have not reached yet. The healing you need may be hidden behind a door you have not opened yet. The spouse you deserve may be someone Allah has not introduced to you yet. The opportunities meant for you may still be on their way, but you cannot fully receive what is coming, while your heart refuses to release what is gone. One of the reasons Allah asks us to trust Him is because He knows what attachment does to the human heart. Attachment narrows your vision. It convinces you that one loss means everything is lost. It convinces you that one ending means your story is over. It convinces you that one person was your entire future. But Allah repeatedly teaches us that endings are often beginnings in disguise. Think about the moments in your life that seemed devastating at first. Perhaps there was a job you desperately wanted but never got. Perhaps there was an opportunity that disappeared. Perhaps there was a friendship that ended. At the time, you felt disappointed, you felt hurt, you felt confused. But later, you realized that Allah was guiding you somewhere better. The same may be true about the person you are struggling to let go of. The pain you feel today may be preparing you for a blessing you cannot yet see. The chapter that ended may be creating space for a chapter that is far more beautiful. But that new chapter requires room, and that is the problem. Many hearts are asking Allah for new blessings, while refusing to release old attachments. They want Allah to bring something new while they continue emotionally living in the past. They want peace while continuing to feed the thoughts that destroy their peace. They want healing while continuing to reopen old wounds. My brothers and sisters, there comes a moment when you must decide whether you want your past or your future, because you cannot fully live in both at the same time. You cannot keep chasing what left while fully embracing what Allah is sending. At some point, you must trust that if Allah removed something, He did not do so to leave you empty forever. Allah does not take without wisdom. Allah does not close doors without purpose. Allah does not remove people without knowing exactly what your future needs. Sometimes the reason a blessing feels delayed is because your heart is still occupied. It is still carrying old memories. It is still carrying old hopes. It is still carrying old attachments. And Allah, in His mercy, begins teaching you how to release them so that your hands are finally free to receive what He has written for you next. The truth is that your future deserves more attention than your past. The blessings Allah is sending deserve more attention than the people who left. The opportunities ahead deserve more attention than the doors that closed. And the life Allah is writing for you deserves more attention than the chapter He already finished. So stop measuring your future through the lens of what you lost. Stop believing that your best days left with one person. Stop standing at a closed door, waiting for Allah to rewrite a chapter He already completed. Because perhaps the greatest blessing of your life is not behind you. Perhaps it is already on its way. And the moment you finally stop chasing what left is the moment you begin seeing what Allah has been sending all along. The day you surrender them to Allah is the day your heart begins to find peace again. There comes a moment in every person's healing journey when they reach a crossroads. Not a crossroads between loving and not loving. Not a crossroads between remembering and forgetting, but a crossroads between holding on and surrendering. For many people, this is the hardest moment of all, because as painful as attachment is, letting go can feel even more frightening. At least attachment feels familiar. At least attachment allows you to keep a small connection to the person. At least attachment allows you to keep hope alive. Even if that hope continues hurting you, even if that hope continues exhausting you, even if that hope keeps stealing your peace, the heart often chooses familiar pain over unfamiliar healing. And that is why so many people remain trapped for years. Not because Allah has abandoned them, not because healing is impossible, but because a part of their heart still refuses to place the situation completely in Allah's hands. My brothers and sisters, true surrender is one of the most powerful acts of faith a believer can perform. Because surrender is not saying, I no longer care. Surrender is saying, Ya Allah, I care deeply, but I trust you more. That is a completely different thing. Many people think letting go means the person never mattered. That is not true. Some people matter deeply. Some people leave a mark on your heart. Some people change your life. Some people teach lessons you will never forget. But even the people who matter deeply are still subject to Allah's decree. And faith means trusting Allah's wisdom, even when your heart does not fully understand it. The reality is that peace does not come when everything happens exactly the way you wanted. Peace comes when your trust in Allah becomes greater than your attachment to your own plans. Think about how exhausting it is to carry someone in your heart every day, to wonder about them constantly, to think about what they are doing, to imagine conversations that will never happen, to keep checking for signs, to keep hoping for a different ending, to keep reliving the same memories, to keep reopening the same wounds, month after month, year after year. Eventually, the heart becomes tired, not because it stopped loving, but because it was never meant to carry that weight forever. Allah never intended for your heart to become a prison. Allah never intended for your peace to depend on one person. Allah never intended for your entire emotional world to revolve around someone who could leave. This is why surrender feels so powerful, because surrender finally allows you to put down a burden you were never meant to carry. You stop trying to control what Allah has already decided. You stop fighting reality. You stop arguing with the decree of your Lord. And slowly the heart begins to breathe again. One of the most beautiful moments in healing is when a person finally reaches the point where they say, Ya Allah, if they were meant for me, no one could have taken them away. And if you removed them from my life, then I trust there is wisdom in that decision. Those words may seem simple, but they carry enormous power, because they transform the heart from resistance to acceptance, from fear to trust, from desperation to reliance upon Allah. And something amazing begins happening after that. The memories are still there, but they no longer control you. The persons may still cross your mind, but they no longer own your heart. The story still exists, but it no longer defines your future. You begin waking up with less heaviness. You begin smiling without forcing it. You begin enjoying moments again. You begin noticing blessings again. You begin feeling hope again. Not because the person returned, but because your heart returned to Allah. And that is where real healing begins. Many people spend years praying for Allah to bring someone back, when what they truly need is for Allah to bring their own heart back. Back to peace, back to trust, back to contentment, back to certainty, back to Him. The greatest miracle is not always the return of a person. Sometimes the greatest miracle is the return of your soul after it was lost in attachment. Sometimes the greatest miracle is waking up one day and realizing that the pain no longer controls you. Sometimes the greatest miracle is discovering that Allah was enough all along. Because the truth is this: the person you lost was never your provider, Allah is. The person you lost was never your protector, Allah is. The person you lost was never your source of peace, Allah is. The person you lost was never your future, Allah writes your future. And the moment your heart truly understands this, something changes forever. You stop chasing what left. You stop begging for closed doors to reopen. You stop measuring your worth by who stayed and who walked away. You stop believing that one person carried all your happiness. Instead, you begin trusting the one who controls every heart, every door, every opportunity, and every blessing. And that is why surrender is not losing. It is winning a peace that attachment could never give you. It is finding rest after carrying a burden for too long. It is discovering that Allah's plan was always safer than your own. And perhaps the most beautiful part of all is this: the day you finally place that person in Allah's hands may feel like the end of your story. But in reality, it is often the beginning of the chapter where your heart finally becomes free. Because the peace you have been searching for was never hidden inside another person. It was waiting for you in your trust in Allah all along. If there is someone you are still carrying in your heart today, someone whose memory still brings tears to your eyes, someone you keep thinking about, even though they are no longer part of your life, then perhaps this reminder was meant for you. Perhaps Allah wanted you to hear one simple truth: you do not have to keep carrying this burden alone. You do not have to keep fighting the same battle every night. You do not have to spend the rest of your life standing at a door that Allah has already closed. The person may have left. The chapter may have ended. The dream may not have unfolded the way you hoped, but Allah is still with you. Allah still sees your pain. Allah still hears every silent dua you have never told anyone about. Allah still knows the tears that fall when nobody is watching. And Allah is fully capable of replacing your sadness with peace, your confusion with clarity, and your loss with something far better than you can imagine. So tonight, stop asking why they left. Start asking what Allah is trying to teach you through their absence. Stop asking Allah to bring back what He removed. Ask Him to bring your heart closer to Him instead. Because sometimes the greatest blessing is not getting the person you wanted. Sometimes the greatest blessing is becoming the person Allah wants you to be. Ya Allah, heal every heart that is struggling to let go. Ya Allah, replace every painful attachment with closeness to you. Ya Allah, grant peace to those who are hurting, strength to those who feel weak, and hope to those who feel lost. Ya Allah, if something is not written for us, remove its attachment from our hearts. And if something better is written for us, make us patient until it arrives. Ameen. If this reminder touched your heart, then be sure to subscribe to Deenpedia, like this video, and share it with someone who may be silently struggling to let go of a person Allah has already removed from their life. And remember, what Allah takes away with wisdom, He replaces with mercy. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.